So, hello and welcome people back to the chapter 4 of Amerzone. We have now passed the successful switch to the second disc, and now we can leave. Of course,
That's the true puzzle, is how to switch successfully to the second disc.
just tell me about it. It's like you just with my at this point my PSX was just kind of sort of its laser was sort of dying already.
Okay. Hey, buddy.
Aww.
Look at that porg.
Isn't that thing adorable?
It's the cutest porg I ever did see.
But yeah, it was just sort of there for you to see. This doesn't actually serve any purpose. It's just to
Building
establish.
atmosphere.
Yeah, and also it was shown off in the journal, so you kind of sort of have the idea of you're moving forward because you're seeing the creatures that were shown off in it. And here we have a map. I believe because I think I had to replay this section for one reason or another. I forget to actually look at the map, but it doesn't really contain anything terribly useful. Basically, you just click around until you get to where you need to get. The game is linear enough, you know?
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of situations where there's a bunch of branching paths and you have to, like, choose the right one.
It's going to eventually happen, and for that location you don't actually get any sort of map. You just sort of have to get an idea of where you're heading.
That sounds very
But actually the environmental clues are quite helpful, like the sound effects.
Oh, so it's like Lost Woods again.
Yes.
You just have to follow the sound.
Or rather, it's not as easy as Lost Woods, because in Lost Woods you have to follow one sound, whereas in the case of whenever we get to that in this game, you have to sort of get the idea that you're moving forward based on the sounds around you. It's actually pretty interesting. Although it would have been better on a more advanced hardware, you know.
I mean,
And
you had
in
stereo
actual
sound, right?
3D, as opposed to just jumping from location to a location.
Did the PS1 have stereo sound, like true stereo?
It did
Okay,
have
so then
stereo
you're fine.
sound, but having stereo sound and 3D sound are a little bit different
Right.
things.
You're not in 5.1, you're in 2.1.
Well,
Or no, just 2. Version 2.
What I mean is, for example, on the PS2 they were able to sort of emulate 3D sound even
Oh, so
on
you're
the
saying
headphones.
that, like, if you turned your head, quote unquote, you didn't have like a consistent, it's not like there was one source of the sound which the game knew, and depending on which way you were facing, like, you would hear it differently. It's just like each screen had to be loaded with its own mix.
Yeah, in this case it's just like
Talk about a bay of pigs, am I right? Go on, sorry.
The journal says something about these animals, and that something is that they're incredibly stupid. And what we have to do is...
Oh my goodness. These
just
zoom-ins
honk at them.
are always special.
And they run away.
Alrighty. And now there's rhinoceroses.
Those... well...
Non-existent.
There is actually an optional cutscene which I'm going to show off. Because you can just... I believe you can just choose to ignore them, but you can also try to use the same strategy.
On these water buffalo.
Exactly. or rather, try to ram into them. You know, maybe they'll
Yeah.
get scared. That's a good idea,
Yeah,
right?
you know, you play chicken with them. It's classic strats.
Mm-hmm. Well, that
Well,
didn't
you've
work.
got a tough ship though. It can take those horns pretty well.
Maybe not.
Oh,
Maybe
is it
not.
about to go to a cutscene where it's? Oh, there you go. Your engine was damaged though. That's weird because your engine's on the back. So, and they hit you from the front.
Uh, yeah. What you actually need to do, you can actually skip that cutscene completely, and you still wouldn't use the engine anyway. But the idea is to use the grappling hook.
But now our engine's damaged. We don't have to fix that.
We'd never fix that.
Oh.
You could actually go into this entire next location with a working engine, and it would be exactly the same.
Oh. So I'm all worried for nothing here. I'm all worked up and worried, and there's no reason.
Yeah, I was actually really worried at first as well. Here is like the one and only case of pixel hunting that this game has.
But
And you just sort of have to guess at which rock you can grapple to, and then push the grappling lever. Now the game does take
and this is because our engine was damaged.
Yes, that's why we have to move it this way. Even if it wasn't damaged, we still would have to move this way.
Wait. Then we just needed to avoid the buffalo somehow?
No, it makes no difference actually. But yeah, what we need to do here, and I was completely missing it, you have to aim for the buffalo that's right in front of, like, just slightly there, right there.
Oh, that's a buffalo.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Okay. Yeah, pull us to freedom, Buffy. Dude, what service?
Mm-hmm. However, that's not exactly where we want to go. So that's a little bit inconvenient. I guess this was it was intentionally done so it would be like, oh, this is a rock that I can grapple to, and it's like the only thing I can actually reach, right?
Right.
But now it turns out to be a buffalo, because it is as ambiguous in the PC version as well. But yeah, we cannot just pick it up, sadly.
Oh, wait, it isn't. Oh. It's a weird. Oh, ow. You're dead.
These animals are fictional. They're all something odd. It's not exactly a buffalo. It's like a weird cross between a rhinoceros and a buffalo.
I'm just thinking of buffalo because we were talking about bison meat.
That is true. But yeah, here, this is one of the few locations where we have branching paths, but each screen is actually significantly different, that you can actually find a lot of points of reference as to where you're actually supposed to be going. And what's also nice, even though this game isn't in 3D, the direction in which you're facing is actually like it aligns exactly with from where you the direction from which you came
It's not like you came in and then you turned 90 degrees and then they gave you a new screen. It's like you moved in exactly the direction you pointed and then didn't turn.
Exactly. So like if I were to enter the last screen I was at from this location, it would show me a different like beginning screen.
Mm-hmm.
And see, they're actually pretty nice with giving you hints. So like, you know, stuff that you would definitely notice, like, so for example, that butterfly. And because I remember that there was a thing next to the butterfly, or rather, like, you should think that there is a thing next to the only animated thing in the dungeon, in the jungle. We just go and
Could
pick
you
it up.
interact with the butterfly at all, or is it just...
No, it's just an indication of where you were, like,
Gotcha.
it's a point of reference. And that's a good thing to put in a labyrinth-like location, such as this one. Besides, even though this is all very, you know, very low resolution, I think this location is pretty nice to look at.
Well, it's not just gray and
Exactly.
brown. So it's better than the game's been so far. Now you throw a harpoon at him? This is dumb.
It's not a harpoon.
It's what it looked like. Some sort of harpoon. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry. My dryer finished. But that was a great little animation.
Yes, just a bit. And done. And we have the thing we came for. And it's all high res and shit.
Whoa. Look at that carefully crafted pixel.
Carefully crafted 3D model. Pre-rendered 3D model from almost 20 years ago.
Those were the days. Back
Where
then, games were games, you know. Not like kids these days and their Fortnites. Back in my day, a fortnight just meant 14 days. It's kind of confusing that way. And nickels had pictures of bees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, you'd say.
Really? You traded with bees?
Anyway.
I mean,
so
every situation, as we all know, every situation could use more bees. But yeah, this is what happens if you miss, or rather, you choose the wrong target. They have a mercy on you and they don't make you wait for a loading screen.
Hooray! But if you hit the right target, then you hit a loading screen. It's almost like a disincentive.
That is true. But yeah, I don't super like this because it gets really ambiguous as to what you can actually grapple to, because also the distances are very, very, very ambiguous.
Well, the big problem is, like, I think it's a resolution issue.
No, it's as ambiguous even on PC.
Oh.
Because for these screens, like the high resolution screens, there isn't as much difference. Like the game was in 800 on 600, and the European version of the game is at roughly.
Hey, they laughed at you.
Yes, they are a type of lizard that was also described in the journal.
A dinosaur. They're dinosaurs.
They're adorable little dinosaurs that fish. They have really weird noses, and they use them to catch fish. So
or play epic pranks.
Yes, and laugh at you. But yeah, what I was getting at, the PC version of the game, 800 on 600, whereas the PS1 version ran at something similar to, I want to say like 640 on like 700-ish on 500 something-ish. Okay. So it wasn't, and for those screens where you get a close-up look on something, it's actually in that resolution as opposed to when you're in the exploration mode. And here, we have to pick up a barely noticeable stick on the ground and use it on a whole bunch of leaves in order to scare off the bees.
But how did you make fire? Like,
With a stick that I found on the ground.
that
I
doesn't...
don't blame you for not noticing it, because that is
No,
also...
it's not about noticing, it's about...
See?
Look at those little guys. Oh, no! Bees. No, I just meant that you don't just use stick to make fire, you have to do a little bit more, you know? It's like... If you've ever tried to start a fire just using a stick, you know, there's
Yeah.
quite a bit of, you know...
I mean, he at least had the dried leaves, or actually no,
Sure.
because there were bees or maybe wasps. There was paper underneath it,
Sure.
a dry
But, like,
paper.
But
Adventure
have you ever
game
brought the
logic,
stick
you know.
yeah, sure. I like the little lizard guys.
Yeah, they
I
were
like
pretty cute. But yeah, now we can actually grapple onto it and move onwards.
Even though right now you'd just be hearing conk conk as your ship hit those rocks, but yeah.
I mean, it does have the glider mode, so I guess it's they thought of
It's
this
hovering just above the water. Is what you're saying.
definitely with that broken engine,
Mm-hmm.
and the contrast changed way to hell.
Yeah, well, you know, a cloud moved in front of the sun. You know, this game did manage to make grappling hooks annoying, which are typically the best tools in a video game.
Thankfully, we don't have to use this too much more. But yeah, this
Like
is what
in
I
A Hat in
mean.
Time, which I'm probably going to start playing again because I'm getting the desire, and I only played it through once.
Hmm. Now we can grab this one because it's definitely within our reach, right? It looks
Yeah, right. I mean, unless you're supposed to grab that little bank off to the left, or the little...
like, look
Oh,
at how
okay.
far this is.
Yeah, it's real inconsistent.
Just sort of click until you get it in this last portion. And now...
You know what would have been a really neat thing? Is if the last thing that you grappled onto, like that last one right there, like was the horn of some giant creature that stood up. That'd have been neat.
Yeah. Instead, they saved it for the middle part. But now we have finished this chapter.
Hooray!